Hello, welcome to Can Angels Fly Tarot. I'm Nancy, and today I'm here to read myself. The spread that you see on the screen is for me. And I made this spread to see what's going on. So this is also an Aquarius Rant. I am dealing with issues that have to do with life not making sense. Now, I eventually got to tarot in my life trying to make life make sense. I followed all the rules that was set up for me by the system. Everything from education to being, respectful to parents. Whatever the case was, I followed the rules. But life never made any sense to me. Now, eventually, I thought I had it picked and I understood what was going on. But every now and then I get to this place where, again, it doesn't make sense. And so here I am once again at the place that life don't make sense. So tonight I'm doing a tarot spread to read into my life. When I say life don't make sense, I mean it's like what is good is bad. How can I say that? The things that are considered good traditionally, and the way I was raised, were looked at as bad. I was raised up maybe by like an older person or people. And so an example of what I'm talking about is like the older generation believed in being married. But in this new world, people jump from relationship to relationship. And so I don't really fit there. It doesn't make sense to me. Let's see, those things that are respected are things that are shenanigans or buffoonery and things like that. Being raised by an older generation and following the rules or the status quo to what I usually talk about as the old paradigm was more serious-minded. It understood the energy, the people, understood the system, not in detail as far as understanding the illusions that were put in place or the spells that were being cast on the masses. They didn't see that deep, but they understood the basics in how to manipulate the circumstances, situations in their favor. The older generation was able to successfully work their whole lives. That was insane, but their whole lives. But they made a way for themselves and their family. They put kids through college, those kind of things. And yes, many of them, they worked themselves half to death. But it still was this order. It was some order that made sense to me. Now, the order, the structure, what's right, what is politically correct, what is deemed maybe spiritual, that's a whole nother thing, is the things I can't wrap my mind around. Like the spiritual thing. Sometimes I talk to people, and people don't even understand the difference between religion and spirituality. And so I might as well cover that subject matter here in this rant just because I'm ranting. Religion is a belief system that is introduced to you or a person from a religious sect or cult, no matter what it is, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, Baptist, it doesn't matter. Each of those religions or sects or cults have a doctrine, and they teach that doctrine to the followers or the parishioners. And those doctrines or those lessons govern the way the people think, and therefore the way they act. That's religion. That's the bottom line to it. That's it. It don't even go no further than that. Where spirituality has to do with one's essence and getting to know that essence while in this physical vessel. That's any work one has in this life. One of the things that connects the physical to the spirit are emotions and feelings. Our emotions and feelings, some of which, much of which, is connected to our five physical senses. And it's this understanding that we come to on so many levels. It's like, for me, it's impossible to identify just how many levels we are being educated on spiritually while in the physical. See, like I said, it doesn't make any sense to me. Just everything. I'm at this confused state, and I'm just ranting. But for right now, I'm gonna digress from the rant, and I'm just gonna read the cards. Now, what I did is I dealt out about 15 cards for myself, and I went through and placed all 15 cards on the screen so that you can follow along and pierce into my life. So maybe we can, figure something out. The cards that are in my hand, they're not in any particular order. They're the same cards that's on the screen. And I've just been shuffling them. And so I'm going to call out the card as I read them. And you can, locate them if you so choose to on the screen. But I just want to, again, see what's going on. Maybe see where I'm heading, or see what I'm dealing with. And so the first card, of course, after all that shuffling, is the Tower card. When I first dealt the spread, I felt like the Tower card was the central card. And so I kind of placed it near the center on the screen, and here it is as the first card because I got them stacked up in my hand. So the Tower card suggests that either myself, I'm not reading reversals or upright, I'm just reading the energy of the card relative to myself. This is an Aquarius Rant. A Tower card represents a moment of enlightenment. Now, this moment of enlightenment can be brought on by me or triggered by something outside of myself. Either way, the circumstances and situations surrounding me trigger me. It triggers me to look around at some aspect of my life. Maybe we'll discover it during this reading. And when I look at that aspect of my life, I got to evaluate it to see, are there any flaws? Is something incorrect? Because if it isn't something that is incorrect or it's not on the up and up, then that very thing basically doesn't have the ability to survive or to grow in a healthy manner and to actually help me progress in life. So with the Tower card, it lets me know that this moment of it was going to come on suddenly. I can expect that. I'm Aquarius, and as an Aquarius, I'm ruled by Saturn and Uranus. And Uranus is always popping its behind up with sudden events, shocking events, saying, hey, Nancy, pay attention, wake up, and look at this area of your life. Do you need to make any changes? Because based on the astrological, and not the astrological, the astrological energies or the energies at hand, it appears that there's something that is faulty and you need to tend to it. So that's what the Tower card tells me. Hey, either I have already been triggered, which I think I have, or I soon will be triggered to look at a particular area in my life as something that's faulty there, and it needs to be tended to, because whatever comes as a direct result of that very thing, it also will be damaged. The next card is the Seven of Swords, fallen in order so far. The Seven of Swords is rushing into the Tower. And so this is someone that comes in, a person, a place, a thing. What I can know for sure, based on the Seven, as well as the Swords, is that it is an associate. The associate I am in a contract with, a literal contract, whether it's professional or personal. It is possible that this associate that I'm in a contract with, possibly a more intimate contract, meaning we're real close, could be an air sign, another air sign, which could be a Gemini, a Libra, or Aquarius. That's deep, because that's what my house is full of: Geminis, Libras, and Aquariuses. And so this person comes to me, and so this Tower card immediately leads me to believe that I am not the trigger of the enlightenment. It is probably one of my kids, or Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, that comes to me with some information, some knowledge, because the swords represents, some type of communication, information, knowledge, some intellectual exchange. And they may not be on the up and up. They might not be telling me the truth. As the Seven of Swords could represent a liar, a thief, someone who is manipulative in social affairs. Now that person that's coming my way, see, I want to look still in order. The Page of Wands is leaving the Page of Wands. Now this Page of Wands energy is a person that could possibly be a fire sign, Aries, a Leo, and a Sagittarius, or Sagittarius. Now this person with this fire element is busy. They are talking about their own aims, ambitions, intents, or their passions. And they're pretty young and youthful. And so whoever this Seven of Swords person is, the one that is probably a Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, has left the company of this Page of Wands, who's busy and preoccupied. It seems like this Seven of Swords person, possibly one of my kids, y'all, has taken something from this Page of Wands person. They've taken some, again, information most likely, and they're bringing it over to me. And when they give me this information, it will be that trigger or that catalyst that says, analyze this area of life or this circumstance or situation, or possibly this person. The next card is the Ten of Wands. Okay, we've been redirected. Now the Ten of Wands represents a person carrying a lot of responsibilities and duties associated with their interests, aims, passions, desires. And those responsibilities and duties being kind of, I would say, more than a person can bear, or is highly demanded. Highly demanded. And at times, a person may not feel like they're going to make it. That sounds like me. Even right now, going through this, whatever I'm going through. And it's almost like push come to shove, or this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, because I'm already carrying a lot of responsibility and duty associated with my aims, passions, desires. Some with wands, of course, can be ego interests, ego-driven desires, ego interests. But these wands can represent me attempting to move forward and carry my passions and willing them into the physical world. And so the Tower card is like, possibly, I don't know, I gotta finish reading the cards, the straw that breaks the camel's back. We gonna see. The next card is the Judgment card. Now we're jumping to the Judgment card. So if I'm carrying all these responsibilities and duties, and I am triggered by someone, we'll say in my immediate environment, and possibly can be some he say, she say, what does all this have to do with me not understanding life? Maybe I just don't understand where the hell I am now, or completely how I got here. Maybe, but I'm gonna see. Just consulting the cards. So, carrying all the responsibilities and duties associated with my interests, whatever they may be. I get to this point where I've had enough experience across the board, from the carrying the responsibilities to the involvement or interaction with another or others, and these triggers, these triggers. So what I feel like is um, a social, possibly like being overwhelmed socially and like kind of needing a break, especially relative to the Ten of Wands, followed by the Judgment card. It says, okay, upon looking at all of this prior to the Judgment, I have enough experience, enough interactions and exchanges with others. I have more than enough to bear with the Ten of Wands that I can make a decision about, can I continue to live like this? Can I continue to move forward as I have thus far? I'm not even going to answer the question, because I'm just exploring my mind, exploring my life via the use of the tarot cards to see what it can add. And so let's say I'm tired of the status quo. Let's say that. Let's say I'm tired of the intimate social interactions I'm having. Judgment says enough. It could be enough. I can say it's enough. Okay, no more. Or I can say, okay, yeah, I can continue to live forth like I have, with the associations, the responsibilities, and everything. So the next card is the Two of Wands. Where's the Two of Wands? I see it up there. It's right next to the Ten of Wands. So now we have the Two of Wands. And so the Two of Wands says, okay, I get to make a choice. Of course. That's what precedes the Judgment, or is the Judgment, making a choice about what aims or ambitions or interests I want to carry now. There's a difference between the Two of Wands and the Ten of Wands. Based on the tarot, it's suggesting right now that I carry or have carried a lot of responsibilities and duties. The burden has been heavy. Whether those burdens have been my own ego-driven desires, me attempting to will my interest into the world, or impose my will into the world, or express myself, or to carry any other responsibilities and duties. 10 represents the maximum capacity an individual can carry. And then, as mentioned, I get to pierce over all of my life experiences and all of that, what can I call it? Handling all those responsibilities, and make a decision. It says, if I make a decision, I'm cut down from Ten of Wands to the Two of Wands, making a decision about what I want to focus on. Rather than having to deal with all them Ten of Wands, choose one. So now the question is, what is the aim or the passion or the desire that's primary or most important to me, and to pursue that one? What do I choose? The next card is the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands represents choosing a passion, an aim, a desire, and moving forth on that passion, aim, or desire with full faith. Remember, I always talk about how the queens are receptive to everything that transpires. And the queen is looking at all of this stuff that was prior to her energy and determines what her interest is, determines how she will express herself in the world for the betterment of herself, which is me, and those that I may choose to be up under my care or in a close connection with. Now, the queen is also aware of how to inspire others and how to motivate others and things like that. I find that interesting because if I choose, because it's always a choice, but if I choose to stay my course, stay as it has been, and ride my current wave, then I still have the power of persuasion. I still have a forceful nature. That's what it is. It's forceful nature. Because I have to go back to the cards that I was reading prior. I'm trying to think of this on a broader scale because this is an Aquarius rant. But I think of this on a broader scale. But first I want to state this. Is that when the reading started, it immediately started with the Tower card that lets me know about the moment of enlightenment or opportunity for enlightenment. The moment of sudden awareness for the purpose of gaining enlightenment on a subject matter or area of life so that I can update it. And then it goes into my close proximity of those people that are in my immediate environment. And it lets me know that something is not on the up and up or something's going on. And how I carry all these responsibilities and duties. So, since this energy seems to suggest more of a negative experience, as far as questionable associations or interactions and just a lot of responsibilities and duties, the negative quality of the Queen of Wands is that she can be a bitch and bossy and things like that. And I know I do. I got that characteristic too. But upon making a change, redirecting my energy on a new interest or aim or passion or narrowing it down and selecting how to focus my energy and what to focus on, the intent, that I can be, again, highly persuasive, and I can be a leader and those type of things. And so the Queen of Wands talks about how I would use my energy. And so, of course, it's completely up to me. I want to think of this interpretation on a broader scale because what I'm experiencing personally is bigger than just my immediate environment. How is this energy bigger than my immediate environment? Sudden enlightenment. Well, when dealing with the Tower card, the Tower card can be technology and just being here like on YouTube, what's the other one? Facebook. And somebody posts something or says something that may be negative relative to myself or someone under my care, just trying to expand the energy and seeing how things just aren't making sense. It's like we live in this reverse world or reality. It's like everything has flipped. That's what I'm dealing with. Everything has flipped. And so I'm trying to see how I actually feel may be presented in the cards to see if it can help me organize my thoughts to get some answers. And so the Seven of Swords also talks about falsehood and how one interacts or has their social exchanges from day to day and what they have to contribute, the discussions, the plans, those type of exchanges. And it's not always on the up and up. It could be some discrepancies or something like that. Excuse me. But this person, the way they express themselves is their own personal fabulous self-expression. This is how they do them, So it might not even be that this person is or these people are, or the energy is intentionally trying to be deceptive or to steal or, be politically incorrect. It's just this person's character or these people's character that I may encounter. And when people come to me, oh, I see, with opposing energies or adverse behaviors, you know, I don't resonate with them. They're the trigger. I see. I see. And these people, thinking on a broader scale, why things don't make sense to me. The Page of Wands can also represent another's ambition or intentions or purpose or their personal fabulous self-expression. So what may also be happening in my world is that I have people that possibly even here on YouTube that visit my channel and go visit another person's channel and come back here. Oh, I see. And come back to my channel. Now, I don't have this happen too much, but I'm trying to get a broader look at this. But you know how some people have multiple channels that they visit. Well, a person may go visit one person and hear their information or experience them expressing themselves on whatever subject matter. I cover primarily tarot and life and current experience, life experiences and things like that. So a person may go over to another channel that deals with some of the things that I deal with and hear how they speak or teach or whatever they have to, that person has to offer, however they express themselves. And that person takes away from, that person. And it comes over with regurgitated, possibly information or something like that. And that triggers, could trigger me, or trigger a negative energy, trigger me to have to reevaluate, like even being here on YouTube. This is just an example, trying to see why everything is in reverse. In reverse, in reverse, in reverse, in reverse, in reverse. Well, I want to finish reading the cards. This is my own personal tarot reading. This is also an Aquarius Rant. I'm using the tarot cards to help me work through my own dilemma to see if I'm able to answer some of my concerns through the use of tarot. And so I'm allowing you to witness my personal meditation, we'll say. The next card is the Eight of Swords. And the Eight of Swords represents an obsessive, compulsive, repetitive communication or thought. Keep thinking about it over and over again. But never ever, making a move. Never ever making a move. And it's interesting that this Eight of Swords fell after the Queen of Wands here on my table. It's not the same on the screen. I'll get to the screen in a minute. I just want to finish interpreting the cards the way they came out in my hand. Because, it's like, when I see the Eight of Swords, the energy is like, just do it. Just step out on faith. Make it happen. Make the change. And the figure in the Eight of Swords is bound. They're not moving. I'm not moving. Someone's not moving. But yet it followed right behind the Queen of Wands. Not moving. Not finding that new aim or purpose or intent. Not redirecting my energy. Not paying attention to all of my life experiences in the past and things like that in order to make this change that I may possibly need to make, so that I don't carry all the responsibilities and duties associated with the Ten of Wands, nor any other social issues, intimate social issues, And so the Eight of Swords talks about being stuck in that, in the mess, in the thick of things, in the as established routine of my life, being fixed in the established routine of my life. That's a perfect, and what I've already committed myself to. The next card is the Page of Pentacles, and here's another youthful energy that wants to move and create something new. And this Page of Pentacles says, hey, I'm ready to make something happen. I'm ready to create something new. Oh, I see. On the table, not on the screen. Same cards, but they're falling differently on the table. I'll get to the screen in a minute. I'm looking at this Page of Wands that I spoke of earlier, and how it's laid on the table. This Page of Wands is bringing another wand to the Ten of Wands. Now, the Ten of Wands represents me carrying all the responsibility and duties associated with my own personal aims, passions, and desires, interests, those kind of things, purpose, intent, all those kind of things. And this page is coming saying, hey, carry some more. Carry some more. Okay, first I was interpreting that as if that Seven of Swords energy was coming away from a third party, but it's not. It's not. This Page of Wands energy that I thought was a third party is merely someone in my immediate environment that wants to persuade me to help them pursue their aims, passions, desires, and interests while carrying all the responsibilities of the Ten of Wands that I already do. Meaning I'm going to be carrying 11 wands. That don't even make no sense. Okay. And so now the Page of Pentacles has appeared. And now it's a message about wanting to manifest something, to build something, to create something in someone's life, possibly my own. The next card is the Seven of Cups, and the Seven of Cups represents options, choices. What it seems like I'm seeing here is that I have many choices, but I have yet to move on any of those choices. I have not selected what I want to attach to. I have been stuck with the Eight of Swords. When the message that comes through with the Eight of Swords is just do it. Pick an aim, Nancy. Pick a passion or desire, or whatever the case is relative to me and my interests. Pick it and just do it. Why is it that everything seems upside down? Is it that things aren't that easy to just do it? Or is that an excuse? Just do it. Just do it. Next card is the Nine of Pentacles. What will I choose? There's a question. But the Nine of Pentacles lets me know that it's directly related to what I value. My beliefs about what is valuable, what is priceless, what is worth my time and my energy and my effort, what will be beneficial. The next card is the Three of Pentacles. And the Three of Pentacles turns me right back to my immediate surroundings. Three represents my immediate surroundings, our immediate surroundings, and all of the people, the neighbors, the siblings, the aunts, uncles, people that drop by, neighborhood people in the neighborhood and community. It's the neighborhood stores and everything just that creates my immediate environment, including the people. The Three of Pentacles suggests that when I evaluate, when I look at what I really value, it is my immediate environment. That's so true. That is so true. I'm thinking about, again, I'm trying to deal with the sense that everything is flipped or upside down. Right is wrong and wrong is right, and different things like that. And so right now, when I was just reading the Three of Pentacles, I started thinking about this Jinky Genie. I have a video out here where I talk about the Jinky Genie and how the Jinky Genie worked in my life. When I read this Three of Pentacles energy following this Nine of Pentacles, I think again of the Jinky Genie. Because it was like no matter where I would go or relocate myself, even if I change my interests or my focus, focus my drive on something different or new, I still will have an interest in working with those in my immediate environment, possibly because I'm Aquarius. So I'm already made for that. So I still will put forth my best effort. I still will contribute to our reality. And I believe in having a beautiful environment. I believe in working together, et cetera, et cetera. So that wouldn't change about me. That's what I'm saying about the jinky genie or things being flipped. Well, how can I say this? The cards seem to be pointing out that in my immediate environment right now, as it is, I'm allowing myself to be stuck. That I am committed through my belief system to stay where I am and to carry all the responsibilities and duties associated with my life or in my immediate surroundings, including the people. And even though my hands may be full with the Ten of Wands, there are still others that may take me for granted and bring more their own interests and passions and persuade me or ask me to support or help them to fulfill their aims, ambitions, or desires. And while there are even others that may not have my best interest at heart or a shared interest, that's the catch, a shared interest. And when I say shared interest, I'm talking about everybody in my immediate environment, everything that exists. We are all co-creators working together. We share this environment. But even though we all share this environment, everybody's not working to create an environment or a reality for everybody. Each person is doing what they want to do for themselves and just happen to have to deal with everybody else's creation or contribution. So it's not their conscious interest to really work together. I did that. This is really some jinky genie stuff. But it's saying that I'm talking about the cards, if I find that one aim, that one ambition, and I pursue it fiercely, Queen of Wands, or of all things that have taken place. If I move forth in faith, whatever I need will be added unto me. I would have to select something in particular to attach to. And what I attach to, I will be emotionally bound to and connected with. I don't think it's people, but it is opportunities and projects and things like that. It's a goal, because it's a goal and it's a project. It's an intent. It's an ambition. I know this because of the Page of Wands and the Page of Pentacles. And so whatever I attach to should be based on the cards. Again, truly an expression of who I am, a selective expression of who I am, meaning narrow it down, a particular goal to move forward on, narrow it down. Seven of Cups, choose an option and stick with it and move forward on it. But it's saying again, it goes back into whatever even if I rearrange my life, my intent, my focus, my goal, those kind of things, that I'm still bound to the community or the neighborhood or the people or my immediate environment. And I will still be a co-creator. But if I redefine, I'll say, my life and intent and focus, then I don't understand how possibly the community or the people that frequent me in my immediate environment would change. I would have to get up and totally move out of my environment. There's nothing wrong with my environment. I like my house. I like my community. It's the people. My primary issue, and I see this and I understand that it goes back into when I was talking about the feel familiar or the common people, the commonplace people, whether in my home, neighbors, community, how who I am as a person. I like working in unison with others in order to create or co-create an environment we can all enjoy. You know, being a we can say good neighbor. You know, I believe in that. Planning for any difficulties because we're in the same area. So if anything go on, um, you know, we're all going to be dealing with it and confronting it basically almost on the same level. Um, the rise and fall of this community, in this neighborhood, in this block, will affect us all. You know, in close proximity, in close range, will be affected. And so I've always believed in working together. So this spread makes sense to me. I always believed in working together. But it's so many of the others, especially in the relationship to myself, again, their primary not interest is not working together for the collective or for the group or for the community or for you know, the neighborhood. No, they reside here, but their works are primarily to satisfy themselves. And so that's a big gap and a big contradiction. And so that makes sense to why things don't make sense. Okay, so it tells me now. This is what I believe the tarot is short on helping to define. What do I do? How do I change my goals or ambitions? What does it mean by change my goals and ambitions? That video I made a couple of years back called the Jinky Genie, I talked about my interests and how every interest I could think that I've had that I've got to do, I've lived it out in my life. Of course, it was Jinky Genie style, meaning it wasn't as, it wasn't, didn't last long. It might have lasted a couple of years. I had a rise and a pinnacle and then a fall. As quick as it started, began as quick as it ended. And so that has continued to be the ongoing energy relative to ambitions and my intentions and imposing my will in the world. And so at this point in time, it's like, what other interests do I have? After all of these years, I've landed here in the lap of spirituality and exploring it and coming to understand my inner self, the hidden self, the dark self, of the shadow being, you know, as the soul being, the soul essence, as well as this physical realm and how it relates in this physical realm, specifically me as Nancy in this physical realm. And I've gotten a much clearer understanding and been much more successful ever since I started with tarot and astrology. And so I dig that. I've talked so much and I'm ranting so, rambling so that I forgot what I was talking about. Let me finish reading the cards. The next card is the Three of Cups, going back into the immediate environment and celebrating and being emotionally attached or emotionally involved with these others that are in my immediate proximity. Why are we emotionally involved? Because we are right next to each other. We're in each other's what they call it, comfort zone. We share in a comfort zone. We create a comfort zone together. Now that's not always the case. And so for some people, they don't create comfort zones. They might create an alternative. But in my environment, we work together, not together, but we work individually to create our own unique comfort zones. And collectively, it looks pretty good, you know. But that's not what it's supposed to be about. See, that's the flip side for me. That's not what it's about for me. Um, the next card is the Six of Wands, and it talks about one's day-to-day routines and all that one does and being celebrated for one's fabulous self-expression. And then finally, the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords represents people that can be inconsiderate of others. People that behavior is um, is socially unacceptable or is cruel and rude to another, and as a direct result, a person walks away and leave them standing where they are. The Five of Swords talks about consequences for one's social behavior. Consequences for one's social behavior. And I have on the table the Six of Wands walking into uh, these consequences. Celebration for these consequences. Socializing. So once again, in my immediate environment, there's someone uh, that is celebrated for their actions and what they have to contribute by others. And that person ends up having to go back into an environment after all the works they do, this is me, after all the works they do, to have to deal with others that are inconsiderate of the person. And then it's these consequences that occur. And so I think that this card is talking about it's a reoccurring cycle that exists in my life, and it's making it magnified or helping to define it, that this is a cycle. And so the tower moment happens, it's triggered, I am triggered by another, and it has me look at the cycle in order to see that I'm actually in a cycle. And also I'm getting to see that why I'm seeing things in reverse. You know, what's good is considered bad, and what's bad is considered good. You know, vice versa. And so the flip that I see is that the thing about the working together, co-creation. For one reason, co-creation co-creation is, I can say, categorized by individual individualism, which that's not how it's meant to be made, flipping over. So we have collective or co-creation, or you know, building our reality or one's reality, shared reality, as really as a group endeavor, you know. And so that's flipped up. It's not a group endeavor, is what I'm saying. So this is what I'm learning. And so it's like, hey, Nancy, you can move out of this situation by focusing on a particular interest. Um, but it's still that thing about what do I do? Jinky Genie, I done did it. I done did everything that I've thought about. And right now I'm settled into something that I'm interested in. I do know that life keeps me moving, and it introduces me to so many, or has introduced me to so many new things. Mm. So at this time, what I'm going to do is actually just read the cards that are shown on the screen that you can follow along as I read them. The very first card points back to my immediate environment and the people that are in my immediate proximity. The Three of Pentacles talks about how those that are in my immediate proximity are co-creators to our reality, my reality. And the question emerges, am I in the right environment? Am I frequenting the right persons or people that actually are truly group-minded and attempting intentionally to create a particular reality or environment or experience? And based on the tarot and the reality of my life, the answer is no. Everybody is creating their own unique little comfort zone, and collectively together, stitched together, creates a reasonable, you know, workable environment. At the top is the Eight of Swords, and it talks about being kind of stuck and fixated mentally. That's interesting because I'm an air sign. Stuck and fixated mentally on an idea, a thought, or a concept. So I might not be able to see what I should possibly do or how I can possibly move forward. Which I was saying, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. But That Eight of Swords points down to the cards below it, which is the Six of Wands. And the Six of Wands talks about, again, one's day-to-day activities or actions and how that person is celebrated for their works. This Six of Wands also talks about one having the freedom to express their fabulous self-expression, to take risk, and what end up being celebrated for them. So, fixated thought about being able to express myself. Fixated thought about being able to actually be victorious in achieving a lifestyle that brings comfort and energetic stability. And so, what am I saying? This environment that I find myself sitting in right now, my real time, that Eight of Swords suggests that I have a fixed or obsessive mind or thought about, because I'm in this environment, because of the situation, because we are, everybody in my environment and everything in my environment is individual little niches of comfort zones stitched together, not a group thing. It has led me possibly to have this Eight of Swords energy, this reoccurring or obsessive or fixed mind frame, desiring possibly to be able to, again, express myself in a manner in which I am acknowledged and appreciated for my works and contributions. But why would the people in my environment, in my immediate proximity, do so? When everybody has their own unique niche. Nobody's really crossing over trying to help each other, building a, what do you call it, a block club or a community or things like that. I find it interesting because most people, I do believe, want to have a sense of well-being and to feel protected and things like that, being in that little niche or cul-de-sac, I think you call it, that kind of energy. But yet, has really, it shows me, it reveals to me that people really don't have an interest in another, as far as what are you, unification. It's not an interest in unification. And so there can't be a celebration for each person's contribution because it's not a contribution. It's an individual comfort zone. And so back to the Six of Wands, because it talks about being able to have a particular lifestyle that brings stable energy as well as a level of comfort and security. That lifestyle, this environment leads me to want a particular lifestyle. It's interesting. Anyway, the next card is the Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands, as you can see, falls right after the Eight of Swords. And it's that fixed mind frame, unable to just move forth on faith or move forth using the information I have about my community. It says I'm going to read the cards now. It says, Nancy, hey, use the information that you know about your community and if it's working and if you fit in it, and as well as anything in your immediate proximity, use that information. And whatever you come to see or to understand or to know about that, those circumstances or situations or the people, use that information to help you choose which direction you will focus your energy on. It says turn your back on the Ten of Wands, carrying additional responsibilities and duties, many of which may not be mine. Those responsibilities and duties may belong to the Seven of Cups, various people, various emotional attachments that I have to others. The next card is the Page of Pentacles. It says, although you are not although I am not, what's the word, familiar, or although I may not have seniority in speaking about what I want to manifest or about what I want to create, the judgment card says, hey, you have had enough life experiences in that environment. The Three of Pentacles is the first one. And you understand if you fit or you don't fit. You understand that community is healthy or not. You know, you understand that community is working together and everything in the environment is functioning as a whole. So you understand that. Now make a decision. And what decision do I need to make? It is about the Two of Wands. How will I redirect my energy? Now I have to say that that Two of Wands is directed toward the Eight of Swords, so it puts me back into this fixated energy. But it also can suggest, let's see, the 8 can correspond with the 8th house of Scorpio. And the 8th house of Scorpio is about transformation. So focus on transformation. It also corresponds with the psyche, focusing on the psyche or those things that one hides away from themselves, namely me. This is Aquarius Rant. So it's my Aquarius Rant. It also talks about, with the 8 of Swords, it can talk about, maybe it's time to have a little fun and get in a little trouble, because the 8, this 8th house of Sagittarius is about sex, you know, sex and sexuality and those kind of things. It's very raw, and I'm not really that kind of person, but okay. Let's see. We have, it talks about, you know, deciding exactly, making a conscious decision about who to enter into social contracts with in order to help myself grow, or grow rather a small social network that I can actually have an exchange in, a successful exchange in, where the people, the group members are literally working together for a common goal to create something in particular that they all can benefit from. And so I can see how it's suggesting that I move forth and do that. And so this, let me go back to the Page of Pentacles. Page of Pentacles talks about, okay, manifest, start talking about what you want to manifest, build, or create. You know, let the message out, whether it's about writing proposals, contact people, just begin to make the moves. I have had enough experience. The next card is the Five of Swords, and the Five of Swords talks about, again, these people, or a person in an immediate environment that maybe I am the rude and crude one. Maybe I am rude and crude. But it just talks about someone's behavior, social behavior that's not, it's not the norm. You know, it's not the norm. It's not the norm. Now, the 5 represents, is an odd number, and therefore its potential for instability or discrepancies or imbalances in communications or associations or intellectual exchanges. This imbalance can happen because of how one feels, how they are on an emotional level. And when they, you know, interact with another, it comes out, you know, it bursts out their emotional state. So a person can be negative or something like that. This 5 of Swords also represents just how much one values their environment. So like if a person is in an environment that they really don't like, they could very well voice it, or it'll be in that behavior like littering and things like that. I don't care about the environment, so I litter, or I'm rude to the people, or I don't say hi, those kind of things. Well, I know that's not me. But again, that's the flip thing. Is the flip thing again. Back to maybe me being one type of person in an environment that, and I'm not saying other people in my environment is not like it, but I think it seems like it's boiling down to the reality about who's who. And all this seems to even line up with the astrological energies, because the astrological energies talk about uh, looking at the structure of things and seeing if it works for you. Something that once worked for me or you or anybody else some years back are not the same things that can stand now, because we got Pluto and Capricorn and uh, Saturn and Capricorn, those kind of things. And so even the structures in my immediate environment are breaking down. Uh, you know, that's deep. I mean, I don't really see. I see. That's what I'm saying. It seems like it's an undertone, undercurrent energy that may be present in my immediate environment that is not openly known or shown. And I think that is shared with all of the neighbors or the people in the community, the businesses. Like the business is doing business to make money, but they may feel like they really don't like the people in the environment, or in the community. Um, it's about money. And so different things like that, people might drive through, and because it is, it's block to block where I am. So one block is real nice, and another block might not be. A couple of blocks down, and it just continues nice, not nice blocks, And so when people ride through the community, they may be more prone to litter. Those type of things, like, oh, these people don't care about it, but it depends on what block it is. So it's a lot going on where, again, I just, it's just crazy to me how things aren't making sense. It just doesn't make sense. Now I got the thing. I really got it. I got the thing about the community and we working together collectively for a common, a shared cause, being in the same environment, being co-creators. I got that. But we're doing it for different reasons. It's not the humanitarian working together reasons. It's just, like I said, the individualized comfort zones being stitched together. And so that's about what I've gotten from the reading thus far, for real. And that it would be a great idea for me to change my interests. Um, and so back to the community with the Three of Cups. And the Three of Cups talks about a community that celebrates and is emotionally attached and invested in the others and the community. But there's this Five of Swords energy, and this is, again, scattered thoughts, minds, communications, imbalances in, but again, this Five of Swords does represent a person reacting or acting a particular way based on their true um, thoughts about a particular or about their environment and the people they're around. And so, and that Five of Swords figure is looking at the Judgment card, saying, okay, I've had enough interaction in this environment and with these people so I can make a decision now about if I like these mother suckers or if I don't, if I'm a litter or if I'm not. And so I'm happy to see that the Three of Cups came out, because it talks about celebration. Okay, so I can deal with that. I can deal with that. Then it's the Six of Wands, and it talks about being celebrated for one's works or contributions. We talked about that. Moving forth from, performing an act or work that is beneficial to all that have an interest in the area, in the immediate environment and thing, moves over to the Queen of Wands and sits on this throne of the Queen of Wands and is highly receptive to everything that takes place, everything that I've talked about, and has hope and believes that one can move forward on a particular aim, cause, or passion or desire, knowing that whatever they need will be added unto them. That Queen of Wands, of course, would represent me executing the fire energy, being passionate, a leader, um, if negatively expressed, bossy. And so I see. And so the Queen of Wands, remember, the energy can come out as positive or negative as all other energies can. And so the Queen of Wands starts off positive and being a leader and, um, being celebrated. And after celebration, going back to work, moving forward, investing, fulfilling intents, and have serving a purpose. And then she's followed by the Tower card. A trigger happens. Um, and again, it goes back. As you can see, on each side of the spread, it's the threes. But again, it's the media environment. It's the shared community. It's the co-created reality. And so in there, that's when the tower happens, where all of these works are done. All these great works and intentions are done. And then let me think of the Seven of Swords relative to myself. Contracts with others, social contracts with another has the potential for an imbalance. Let's say it like that, has a potential for an imbalance. And for the tower to happen, there has to be an imbalance. Once that imbalance happens, one, possibly myself, focuses on a new interest, something that I value. Okay, so I see it, you know. And so I did a whole hour of interpreting the stars. I mean, not the stars, the tarot, to see if it can help me. Why is life upside down? I mean, it just seems really crazy and weird to me. Another thing is that my consciousness has changed. It's like um, I'm aware or more awakened than I ever have been, literally. And I'm not going to even say it's comfortable. It's not comfortable at all. It was more of a comfort in my naivety than anything. Life felt more real. I felt more secure in my naivety. And so that's another thing that I'm dealing with as a person, as a person, what's the purpose of being aware, especially if it's going to make me uncomfortable, especially if I don't have a lot of social pull. What changes can I make? As an Aquarius, I'm supposed to be a humanitarian. And to a certain degree, yes, I do have a humanitarian nature. I do. But I don't have the resources to be a humanitarian. I do what I can do when I can do it. But the reality is, how many changes can I make? Why am I so conscious? I know I was walked to this level of consciousness. But why? Why? Why can't I be asleep? Why can't I be a sheeple? I would rather be a sheeple than to be awake and uncomfortable, because I'm uncomfortable. I always feel like it's this call for me to do something. But whenever I do something, whenever I try to contribute into the world, into my immediate environment, sometimes it's requested, other times I just see where there is something that needs to be done and I try to do it. I don't have much to give, but I'm that poor woman that gets 2 pennies, and then all I got is 2. And so that's what I do. But yet, again, it's these others, and I'm not saying anybody in particular, but what I have noticed, and the tarot was just on, there are others that are only out for themselves. There's more of a self-interest kind of thing, and people aren't working together. And I find that interesting, and that's really annoying to me, because then, like now, this is another thing that's bothering me. This is a TMI, but this is an Aquarius Rant. Is that I've always been like this my whole life. Now I'm at a place where I am financially vulnerable, but I'm still the same person. So when I do these things that come naturally to me, they are now like fake to me. And they're fake to me because in reality, I'm the one that needs help. I don't have anything to offer anybody. Again, I'm like the lady in the Bible with the 2 pennies or whatever she had, and she gave it to Christ. I'm the one with the 2 pennies. And I get it 2 pennies away. I ain't have nothing to start with. And after I get it 2 pennies away, I ain't got nothing. And so if I'm trying to or my mind or who I am is the kind of a being that's always had the interest or thought it was the norm. I thought it was the norm. I'll tell you, I was naive. I thought it was a norm that people worked together. It took a long time before I came to understand the state of this world, you know. But the world at large, yes, but I didn't know it was in my own state, in my own city, in my own community. And it can happen, it has happened in my own home where everybody don't want to work for a common uh, goal, toward a common goal. And I find that that's deep. But because I'm in such a weak space, um, especially financially, that it almost seems like it's a desperate plea. This is another thing, a desperate plea for me to connect to another to save me. And that's some deep stuff. Devil got some tricks. Again, I said it's jinky genie and things are flipped upside down. Now, I do believe in light and dark energies. But the devil or the darker energies have been able to flip my humanitarian nature up on his head by me being, I could say, uh, minimally beneficial to anything or anyone. Barely can take care of myself, but still having humanitarian nature, and now that humanitarian nature um, fails or fails or is humanitarian nature cannot withstand my own personal hardship. As mentioned, it's because it's like I'm trying to unite or work with others or contribute so that I'll be invested in, how can I say it? I just said it, but you know what I'm saying? So I contribute to another or others or the common goal or common issue or, interest in order to have support for myself. And the reality is, this is the crazy part about it. Co-creation is supposed to be a support system. It's supposed to be a network. And so that's what I'm saying about everything is flipped upside down. Use. Their ideas and philosophies are totally different than mine. I have five adult children now, but their philosophies and the way they think is totally different from me. Again, I was raised by old school, so my mind frame is from the old school paradigm. So I don't relate very well to them. A lot of things they do, I can't make sense of. And that's interesting to me. Another thing that's flipped upon his head, I'm trying to work through. It doesn't make sense to me. I was talking about how I shifted, my consciousness shifted. I was naive and asleep, but I was comfortable and complacent. Naive and foolish though. Then I slowly, over the course of my life, woke up. And so now I'm up and I can see in detail, but I feel also uncomfortable. Now, how can I say this? I wonder how the younger generations feel. Are they, highly awakened? I say that from the perspective is that there are a lot of horrific incidents and crimes and different things that take place from, sexual crimes, all kind of things. And because it's broadcasted everywhere. See, when I grew up, there still was these boundaries and limits relative to TV and media. And so, like, we didn't see, in my generation, I didn't see all of that. You saw some. You saw some. But now with technology and internet and the 24-hour TV, and it's everywhere you go, all the radio stations, all of the technology and media, all of the youth, our young adults, are exposed to the darkest parts of man. And they see in it real time. I mean, in real time, within the moment. I don't want to talk in detail about any of the things that has transpired over the years. But I mean, you kind of use your imagination. And so I wonder, where are these youth's minds? Things aren't making sense to me. Things are flipped. How can we work together? How can we work together? Now I'm trying to look at things on a grander scale relative to my life. I talked about my own immediate, intimate world and community. But now when we start talking about on a global level, or even a more a broader social network or circle, how do we relate the older generation to the newer generation, the old paradigm to the new paradigm? Because a lot of older folks, I don't think, made the transition. They may still sit naively in their comfort zone and have it's a false sense of security. Where myself, that false sense of security was shattered and done away with. And what I'm contending is that the younger generations had no sense of a false security. They didn't have no false security, period. And so are their minds opened up? And it's not opened up like awareness about what spirituality, I'll say, is. They're not opened up to be able to comprehend the various parables and allegories and analogies, whatever they are, in any texts or biblical texts. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, how can I say, these children or these young adults were, again, born, I do believe, without a false sense of security. The norm to them is destruction. The norm to them is the end. It's every day of their lives, of their consciousness. They are aware of that, something that I wasn't aware of. And so what I'm saying is, it's like the subject matter of death. When you learn about death and you become aware of death, and then you become aware that you're supposed to die, you heard me say you're supposed to die, that's pretty messed up. And it can play on you psychologically. And you have to force that thought to the back of your mind so you continue to move forward in life, because if that whole concept will drive you crazy. And what I'm saying about the younger generations is, what are they doing with those kind of thoughts, like the thought of death? Older generation, you push it back to your mind, you keep trudging along. When I came up, I didn't know I was going to die. I didn't know that. It took many years for me to know that. I was a grown woman before I had that realization that I'm supposed to die. Like, what? Doesn't even make sense to me. But you push it in the back of your mind because it drives you crazy if you keep trying to go up. But this younger generation, again, born without a false sense of security, looking all the ills and the evils in the world directly in its eye, real time, whether it's in their immediate environment, online, reproduction in the movie, they are seeing it up close and personal like no other generation before. What are they doing with such thoughts or consciousness as what I've just shared, like death? What are they doing with that? Because that suggests to me that the youths are a unique bunch. And I'm not sure that it is a positive outcome. I'm not sure that. That's deep. I'm not sure that it almost seems like, how can I say, the youths have this breaking point. What am I talking about now? I'm talking about the things that have been concerning me. Yes, I can be an overthinker. But I'm talking about how do we work together when we have people that have been in the clouds their whole lives, and now at the same time in this physical world, not only are people that are still in the clouds and deluded, there are people that are a snap away from insanity, basically. As I said, if one cannot suppress the concept of death, that can lead to a form of insanity. And so if I'm contending that the younger generation, the majority of it, may not have the capability of appropriately suppressing that concept or concepts like that, because it's constantly being flashed in their faces, that they are a hair, what they call it, a hair trigger away from expressive explosion of insanity. What's taking place? What's taking place? Something's taking place. That's what I know for sure. Something's taking place. And it's hard for me to see, but something taking place. And so that's been of concern to me. That's been of concern to me. And see, I think what's missing globally, I'll say socially, globally, is that those people that were asleep, that did end up transitioning and kind of waking up, didn't protect the integrity of this life, did not protect, certain aspects of life, like limiting exposure to such things that can cause psychosis. It's like a psychosis state. Yeah. I think that would be the best word, like a psychosis state, being triggered by, how can I say it, something concepts. Death as a unfathomable concept. We didn't protect them. And we know that they have not been protected because we allow media to continue to push the boundaries of art imitating life. They kept pushing it. Art imitates life. And it's been imitating the worst aspects of life, the unfathomable aspects of life. The gore, the games, the 3D, the holograms, the colors, and pay attention, like you go to the new, what they call it, cinemas or whatever they call them, AMC cinemas. It is a whole sensory experience. A whole sensory experience. Everything is activated at the same time. You got chairs that move, jump around, surround sound, and it just gyrating every single sensation and sense in one's body. And it's directly linked to the most horrific visuals and experiences. Again, what do you call it? The youths, the younger generations are the primary financial or economic contributors. They like to shop and go out to the show, to the mall, and so they're the big investors. And so they invest and they go to the movies and they buy the games and it's on their clothes, it's everywhere. It's in there and it's manifesting into the environment. And remember, they haven't had the opportunity nor the training to suppress this type of concept, these kind of concepts. And they are a hair trigger away. So what will be the hair trigger? Because we didn't stop it. We allowed it. When I say we, I'm talking about the older generation of people that were part of the old paradigm, didn't stop it, didn't protest. We did not stop those that had the power, the know-how, and the creative ability. The sky was the limit. Only their imagination could limit them. And we did not put up a fight because we couldn't see where this was going. But it seems to me that we dropped the ball. And now what is coming up is that there has to be a hair trigger moment for this younger generation. Has to be a hair trigger moment for this younger generation. And that hair trigger moment, triggering moment, will be the moment of reckoning. Because what the younger generation was capable of doing, they were allotted to do, was to live lives that have been many lavish, or one way or another, even if a person is allowed to live lavishly and not reasonably. And see, that's a part of moving from the old paradigm to the new paradigm. The old paradigm was more like Saturn to me, because it was structures and it was refined and it was disciplined, you know, around home, family was structured. But now that structure is going away. It's being redefined as far as the constructs, the business, the government is being reconstructed or reformed. But when it comes to the individual people, you know, the masses, we too are being reformed, but mentally, spiritually, intellectually. And how can I say, back to the use being a smoke a cigarette. It's the last one. The use being they didn't have a false sense of security, is what I'm saying. They didn't have false sense of security because it was always in their face. But they were able to say, well, while I'm here, I can enjoy life. And they have been reckless with, you know, their care, learning about this environment, creating a structure for the future, them as well as their offspring. And so as a result, it seems like there has to be a global size trigger that how do you say, it will reveal or reflect the consciousness, the true consciousness of these young adults, of these children. It has to be a trigger. It has to be a manifestation of who they really are, spiritually and mentally. Because we're not seeing it, because it's covered up by the fast life, by money, by clothes, by shoes. Other young adults are buried in games and virtual worlds and things like that. And so certain things, I guess, I don't want to talk about. And this is an Aquarius rant, and this is my personal rant, because this is what I'm dealing with. Everything is upside down. What once was considered right, like structure, is now wrong. No bars hold. No rules. Don't follow the rules. Go outside, even divine laws or laws of nature. You can go against it all. It's completely up to you. But that is, it seems like a desperate attempt to ignore a call. There's a call that is taking place. I can hear it. And me as an Aquarius, me as Nancy, I'm frustrated because I hear the call. I hear the call. I hear the call for that trigger. I wait to see it. But I have always, this is another character trait associated with Aquarius, futuristic. I've always been so far in advance, but I cannot tell how far in advance I am. And that's in everything across the border. Everybody in my immediate environment, my family, you always ahead of time, man. You always, they wait a little while. Wait just a little while. Even I'm gonna tell you, TMI. I used to work numbers out, and I could get the 4-digit numbers and figure them out straight, those kind of things. But I would figure them out 4 months early, 6 months early, some a year early. But they would be in the right order, and the sequence of numbers would fall. I would have them, but I would be way in advance. But I would be right. I could foresee events and life experiences, but I will be way in advance. Some of those experiences that I saw could be, again, 6 months down the line, year down the line, 5 years down the line. And so here I sit and talking about something really major. How far in advance are we talking? You know, how far in advance are we talking? And my Aquarius rant is really about, because I myself personally, getting back selfish, zooming back in on myself, I'm irritated. Because if what I see that trigger is going to transpire, let's say 10, 15 years from now, even 5, 10 years from now, well, guess what? As usual, I'm plagued with that information now. I'm plagued with it now. I am dealing with a microscopic example of the building to that trigger. What am I saying? In my own intimate life and in my own immediate environment, I see it. Then watching global issues and things, and the young adults and things like that, I see it on a broader schedule, a broader scale. But my thing is, all of this time, it's just like the cards are saying, I'm annoyed. Because, okay, if, let's say, hypothetically, case scenario, I can see what is and what will be, and I could see also the reversal of various life aspects. Now, why do I, this is what tarot hasn't been able to answer for me. Why am I confronted or forced to be plagued with the knowing for so many years in advance? That's annoying. Frederick Douglass says something like that. How it is, I forgot the quote, but how it is burdensome, Ten of Wands, to carry a knowledge or knowing when your people not comprehending what's going on. They don't have no idea, but all the time you have. I've heard that in other relative to other storylines throughout the history of humanity. It's this knowing. It was somebody else that knew. Even in the Bible, they talk about knowing. No, Nostradamus talked about knowing, and nobody else knows. They are oblivious. But I know people can sense it. My whole thing is they can sense it. And what am I talking about this for? What I'm saying is, if I know, if Nostradamus knew, if Frederick Douglass knew, or whoever else knew something, because they watched, they were inclined to watch, to see, and to be sensitive to whatever was going on at a given time, then at that time that a person knows, it has to be potential to be able to make a change, to adjust the course, to change the outcome a little. It has to be. And so my question is, this is what I'm dealing with. Like, what can I do in the position that I sit in right now in my life to help offset this trigger that I see and the impact it will have upon the humanity, the people in this world? And I say that too because um, the last astrological interpretation that I didn't share it here on YouTube, but it talked about this establishing of a hierarchy. The people with more social pull will be the role models. They will create the rules, the regulations, and things like that. Remember, what is up is now down. Everything's in reversal. And if I am foreseeing this trigger or this negative future experience for humanity, then that suggests that right now, at the time when I'm saying when we can do something, this time that I'm just sitting here waiting, being irritated, is a time that is being governed by corrupt leadership, people that are miseducating, misleading, those kind of things. And because those particular people are the high end of the hierarchy, making the rules, you know, performing the ministries or giving the ministries or doing whatever, or educating people now, whatever the case is, whatever person role they play, making laws, regulations, all of those things are contributing to the future event, the future trigger and event. And so it is right here, right now, that I guess you could say the conscious community is responsible in some way for pulling themselves together, just like Cheryl Carr was saying, on my microscopic level, I'm supposed to pull myself together and redirect my energy and focus it on something in particular. The issue, the question is, what is that something in particular? I feel like I don't wore out everything. I have had the Jinky Genie come into my life, and I've lived out the majority that I can think of my ambitions and my interests. Now, here I am in spirituality, sharing it here on YouTube, sharing all that I know, offering all that I've learned in the course of my life. But what impact can I have? I'm not an affluent person. I don't have a large following, things like that. And so that's my point. I'm irritated because what sense does it make for me to be in this state of irritation when logically, in rational, in reality, I don't even have the pull to make a change. That's deep. That's deep. And so I've sat here and did my own personal tarot reading, and did my Aquarius rant, shared my concerns and my frustrations. I, just like you are, I seek answers and clarity on such things. I shared here, I understand now that across the board, from a microscopic level, socially or socially, um, as far as humanity, microscopic level, all the way to a macro level or a global level, we are dealing with people not working together to create comfort and security overall for us all to share in. But we each are creating our own little niche, our little nook of comfort, however we defined it. and it's all stitched together. I also shared that some people, like myself, are carrying a lot of responsibilities and duties and things like that that um, are not permitting us, or we are not allowed to focus our interests, our attention on a particular interest or cause. And that's something that, again, we need to do, primarily the people that describe themselves as conscious. You know, we really need to focus on that. And the reason why we need to find that one cause um, to focus on and to move forward on, is because it seems that there is a predetermined uh, trigger that will bring about some negative experiences in our physical realm soon. How soon? I don't know, because I never can tell just how far in the future I am. Uh, and so right now is the time. Another thing is that humanity, people, people in your immediate environment, community, we have to look at our our hierarchy, those people that are affluent, that currently have the power, that write our laws, our rules, our regulations, and that teach us whatever they may be teaching us. Look at the integrity of their work, and to be able to foresee where their works, to project where their works will carry us, you know, carry people and humanity, carry us to a particular experience. Based on what I'm seeing, is the current works of those that are affluent, that hold leadership roles, that have a large following and different things. Many of them are, um, again, corrupt in some way. And that, again, is evident by the use and their state of mind right now. Their state of mind, them reacting out the state of their mind, keeping in their mind that concept of death, and them not being able to suppress that particular type of concept in order to move forward in the most healthy manner possible. They can't do it because what? They see it every day, all day long. And so it is there. It is at the forefront of their mind, and only being held back by being able to partake in basically in the vices, the various vices, the devil's allurements of this world. But once those things, here's the answer to how the trigger happens, what triggers them. Once those things are no longer allotted to them, nor can pacify them, that suggests a particular age period when you lose being able to be pacified because you've done something so long. A lot of the younger generation are starting to do things earlier. Everything like sex, um, everything is a lot earlier. So it will be earlier or sooner that they become bored with it, and no longer will be able to uh, hold back their true psychological state. And so whatever their trigger is that stops them, these youths, from partaking in this world and this, uh, lushness and richness, pacifying the physical five senses and things like that, whatever stops that will be the trigger. As mentioned, right now is the time period to be able to kind of repack or try to heal their minds based on those types of concepts and the state of their soul and their conscious, their subconscious. But long as we have a faulty hierarchy, and these things are not addressed but allowed to perpetuate and to grow, then we will move forward as scheduled. We'll move forward as scheduled. Yeah, that's deep. But again, what am I supposed to do if because this is a selfish thing, shrink it back to the me. What am I supposed to do in the meantime? It's crazy. It just don't make sense to me. But thank you for coming here and listening to me rant. Until next time. Bye.